All right, we're live. And we're live on TikTok. Oh my gosh. If you won money in NFL week 2, I would like to talk. I would like to know if you're from the future. Welcome into another episode, Sports Gambling with Moneyline Monaco. Alex Monaco joining you here. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review goes a long way. If you're enjoying yourself, you could be fading me and you're winning money at this point. We are under sea level after 2 weeks of picking. 2-3 against the spread yesterday. I got notes in front of me all over. I'm doing these betting reactions coming off because I live bet even more than I pre-flop bet these days. And I got eviscerated live betting yesterday. Now, 10-game morning slate. I got McAfee on the background here watching. We scour the shows, see what everyone's talking about. 10-game morning slate. It was almost overwhelming from a live betting perspective with a very lethargic afternoon. But we're talking about, as we sit here, Monday morning quarterback, the Cowboys lose a game. Not many people thought with their home favorite history, short history under McCarthy. Dak, I think a 58% cover, I believe I had in my notes, as a favorite, even better at home. We're talking about the Ravens starting out 0-2, losing to the Las Vegas Raiders. I wish I was kidding. The Ravens never made the playoffs starting 0-2 in their historic franchise. They are 0-2 for the first time since 2015. Let's keep it going because the Detroit Lions, 7.5-point favorites against the Bucs. Baker being Baker. Mayfield. Now, didn't light it up like he did week 1 against the Commanders, but did enough. And I'm telling you, the Detroit Lions tried everything they could to win that game. I'm listening and I'm watching post-game what Lions faithful said. Now, a couple of standout things in that game. Aiden Hutchinson, 4.5 sacks, career high. That's the second most sacks in Detroit player history since 1982. He had 3 sacks in the first quarter. That's the 4th player since 2000 with 3+ sacks in the first quarter. Not since Arizona's Chandler Jones. Here's the big number, though, and I'm reading some of these off of NFL.com. Jared Goff under pressure, 9 of 17 for 117 yards, 2 picks to the men in red with a 35 passer rating. Does Jared Goff need everything coddled, Southern California, perfect weather in a dome, no pressure on him to have great numbers? 9 of 17, 2 picks on a 35 passer rating. That just goes to show you a serviceable run D like the Bucs getting to the quarterback. Jared Goff is not an outside of the pocket making Mahomes magic happen type guy. You get to him under center in that very above average offensive line, and you have yourself a win. Now, this Ravens loss, I don't even know from a live betting perspective how to even conceptualize what happened. I can't even conceptualize. This was Ravens up 16-6. I'm looking at the live betting board. I wrote it down. You could have gotten the Raiders over 10-1 live on the money line. They were up to 11.5. Pre-game again closed around 9. I saw it at 8.5. I saw it at 9. I saw 9.5 out there. I mean, I don't even know what in the world situationally that team was doing. That flag on Devontae Adams, PI in the end zone to keep the drive going, horrendous. I'm not going to sit here and blame officiating. I'm going to read a tweet from my guy, Philly Godfather, a little bit here, who is a professional 30-plus years, who is letting you know from where the money was and where the flags were situation. One of the best in the business. Throw him a follow. I'll talk that out in a little. And then let's go to Jerry's world, where a Derek Carr masterclass, which is insane to say on a low pitch count. This man didn't even complete 20 balls. You go 70 yards to Rashid Shaheed out the game. Kamara on a screen. He's still running. I mean, that dude is the fifth guy ever with 4 tutties and 150 plus scrimmage yards. What he did to Dallas's defense yesterday should be no small feat. I got to really sit here and analyze whether the Derek Carr, Dennis Allen Saints are for real. It's hard to sit here and really understand what has happened through 2 weeks in the NFL and what to believe or what is a mirage in Vegas. Let's keep going because there's more storylines. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 0-2, and I don't even know where I'm at with Trevor Lawrence. Now, solid Browns D effort. Garrett was mucking it up, and I didn't catch the whole game. I haven't rewatched the whole game yet. I will. But T-Law, lowest completion percentage in a game since week 2 of the 2023 season. And Myles Garrett, third fastest ever to 90 career sacks. He can mess up a game plan faster than you could possibly imagine. But that was Cleveland Browns football, a lot more what you're going to see. Don't want to spend too much time on it. Jaguars just play with their food. They play with their food. They mess around. I mean, does Doug Peterson like to get knocked around the boxing ring and then show up late and try to steal something from the judges? I don't understand how undisciplined they look. And then they just come out of nowhere. So that had some live betting value in it, but it was never really real. I thought the under was probably a sharp play from a Cleveland perspective, just because what happened to them on their home turf against Dallas week 1, typically you don't see. Now, Minnesota, San Francisco. So football, again, the gambling gut's real. You looked at the splits. It seemed like the sharp side all week was probably to take the Vikings with the points. In fact, it was around hovering 5.5 a lot of the week. And then you saw it close at 4.5. Now, public side was definitely the Niners. I spoke on this somewhere in one of my pods last week. You can't really cap human nature down to the last minute. Just as much as Dak getting that contract in the Marriott Hotel and going out and balling was beautiful timing by Jerry, you look at the Madden curse of C-Mac not just being ruled out, he's on the IR. This man's out for a month plus. What that does to the locker room in real time. I mean, this is, again, where you have to look at the Niners and say, all right, no one since the Legion of Boom has gone back-to-back in the NFC to the Super Bowl for real reasons. And Ayuk, who got paid and has been non-existent in this offense, quite frankly, didn't even get 50 receiving yards yesterday. For Sam Darnold, who now has a 72 completion percentage and 111 passer rating, do 2 games and a dub. This is a guy, 2018 to 2023, and I got in front of me, NFL research, NFL.com. Darnold had the lowest completion percentage and passer rating in the entire NFL from 2018 to 2023 among 39 quarterbacks with 1,000+ pass attempts. Let me just say this again. A 111 passer rating, 72 completion percentage, Sam Darnold, 2 dubs atop the NFC North standings, had the worst completion percentage and passer rating. I mean, again, I made a B- joke about it, that he's on his 3rd act off Broadway. Is Darnold and O'Connell a tandem? I mean, Justin Jefferson left that game in a pivotal moment. And here's the sick thing. The players like Nick Bosa, who will tell you subtly the truth, he sat there in the locker room. I don't even know if I agree with some of this from a mental edge perspective. And he gave the Vikings their flowers and he put down the Jets. He goes, we're going against a much better football team this week than we were last week. I'm not sure where we are on the Niners. I don't want to overreact. It's again, though, not any kind of super compelling take. Brock Purdy is not a guy I feel that I'm comfortable with, and I live bet the Niners like an idiot who can come from behind like a Mahomes, like a Burrow. He is a system at the moment, Shanahan's scheme that, yes, the numbers are fantastic from last year, but do it again. No Christian McCaffrey. I'm not going to overreact on the Niners, but on these spots like a road favorite, I mean, we just walked right into it. And now I'm driving for Uber on a Monday. Let's keep going down the line here. Oh, I caught a win. The New York Jets, -3.5. Up to -4 at one point. And it was an ugly road win. And I saw Orlovsky break it down like a gentleman. Unbelievable 3rd and 1, 17 all. Hot route. Shout out Wedding Crashers, Red 7 moment. Garrett Wilson, last second, gets told, do this, go that way, swivels his head mid-throw like an unbelievable Steve Finley center fielder, catches a rock. They go on to score the touchdown. Levis and the boys can't come back. Jermaine Johnson goes down. I was watching the game live. Not good. Hassan Reddick. Not many guys can be missing millions of dollars and come out and look like their value after 2 weeks is needed more than ever. This is like Chris Jones after week 1 sort of demand, except it's the Jets and they're not as well run. But Braylon Allen, huge. Welcome to the NFL moment. I believe youngest player to score a TD since Arnie Herber. I'm reading. 20-year-old Braylon Allen. Him and Breece Hall, and that throw on the money to Breece was beautiful. I'm from a Jets perspective, I got defensive questions. I mean, you start looking at who they allowed to go. Huff, they're really missing. Obviously, Johnson carted off. No Reddick in sight. I mean, the Titans didn't have the discipline to stick to what could have worked for them more. But my gosh, if the Jets do not address the running game, and I'm already seeing them, and I'm going to the game Thursday night, MetLife home opener, they're laying 6.5 against a very pesky Patriots team through 2 weeks that has done nothing but run the ball well and play serviceable defense. Game we got wrong. I'm not going to spend much time on it. New York Giants. And I went on New York ESPN radio and I said I liked the under more. And I should have listened to myself. But honestly, Graham Gano doesn't hurt the hammy. And we're talking about probably a Giants victory. Neighbors drops out ball. They can't kick a field goal. I mean, a very, very small moment that turned into the game going from a W to an L. Neighbors makes that catch 9 out of 10 times. And you want to talk about a 6 Scotty Van Bad beat? The Giants become the first team in NFL history to score 3 touchdowns, allow no touchdowns, and lose in regulation. Now, I have no idea how the Giants are going to turn their season around. There were some bright spots. Effort was there. Jones to Neighbors could be something if we're looking for any Seinfeld conceivable reason for getting up in the morning. But again, vibes are not great. And I think we're talking about a Commanders quarterback here, Jaden Daniels, that is going to be here to stay in due time. Can we talk some Los Angeles, former San Diego Chargers? And I didn't take it. And it was the easiest bet on the board. And you could probably close your eyes, plug the schnoz, and fade the Panthers every week this season and probably bat well above 55% against the spread. I'm going to spend at least 2 minutes on this Chargers team. And I know I sound like a SoCal homer here. The reality is, this is a real club that I tweeted last week at 50-1. 50-1 to win the Super Bowl. That is down to 40-1 on a Monday morning quarterback week 2. We're going into week 3. 6.5 points per game the defense is giving up. Yes, it's the Raiders. It's the Panthers. I'm not going to get too high on my horse here. I'm just going to just lay the land for you because we're talking about an AFC with Burrow and Lamar 0-2. And if you're talking about going against Patty and the boys in the AFC ship right now, the Texans and the Chargers through 2 weeks got a potentially better chance since we just saw the KC Chiefs pack in the Ravens and pack in the Bengals as far as lining up against them. I mean, we're talking about minus 145 for both these two teams just to get in the tournament, Bengals and Ravens. But back to the Chargers, allowing only 227 yards per game, just 7 first downs, 7 first downs on third, fourth down attempts through 2 games defensively. Haven't allowed a touchdown in 7 quarters. Opponents have 2 total red zone plays against the Chargers. 2 in 2 weeks of football. JK, I'm all the way back. Dobbins. First player with 130 plus rushing yards and a rushing TD in his first 2 games on a new team since Garrison Hurst, shout out early Madden 98. Listen to the other side of the football. Yesterday, against the Panthers only, 22 first half rush attempts, 6.1 yards per rush, 6 rushing first downs, 134 rushing yards in the first half. Let me explain to you who Justin Herbert is when he has a real defense, let alone that running game I just shouted out. These are all Chargers guys you got to follow on Twitter. I'll retweet them, I'll like them so you can see it on mine. Herbert's 26-8 lifetime when his defense allows 27 points or less. He's 18-0. 18-0 when his defense allows less than 20 points. And the Chargers are 2-0 for the first time since 2012. And they are staying in a city dripped in dog, Pittsburgh, all year, playing Scrabble, Trivial Pursuit, rock, paper, scissors. Who knows what they're doing, but they are team bonding off a dub. And Jimmy Harbaugh and the Jim Harbaugh effect has already begun. And if people do not realize that Alt and Slater, left tackle, right tackle, this is a dream scenario for a guy like Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, who was top 5 in defensive yards, turnover differential, and 44-19, I'm off the noggin with it, as a head coach for the Niners. He's a quarterback once upon a time, but he is a defensive-minded, ground and pound, old school football player. You play defense, you run the ball, you bleed the clock, you win the turnover battle. It is a KISS, keep it simple, stupid formula. And we got Herbert, the introvert turned an extrovert, by the quarter. He's yelling, he's cussing. I guarantee you he's an introvert. The Harbaugh effect's underway. From 50-1 down to 40-1. If I got anything right through 2 weeks, it's tweeting out, hop in the value before it's gone. Couple more takeaways. The LA Rams, my worst bet on the board outside of live betting, the Lions and the Cowboys, like an idiot. The Arizona Cardinals, and I don't know what this defense is going to be, but Kyler Murray is humming. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is looking like him and K1 are going to be special. But Jonathan Gannon and Kyler Murray locking together. And look, Kyler Murray's had an ACL injury, season ending. He's been banged up the last 2 years. We haven't seen this man healthy, thriving, moving around. I mean, you start to watch Caleb Williams last night, you're getting frustrated. You're like, go move around. Do a little K1 here now. Kyler Murray is one of those guys that is such a sick athlete. You're like, I don't think anyone outside of maybe Lamar Jackson can come up with routes off the noggin with a football in his hand. All I know is he completed his first 5 deep passes for 156 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. He didn't even attempt a deep pass in the second half because they didn't need to. Marvin Harrison's the first rookie, 4+ receptions, 2+ receiving touchdowns in a quarter since his pops, since Marvin Harrison Sr. did it in 96. Harrison Jr., more receiving yards in the first quarter than his dad, any single game as a rookie in 1996. Special. Now, look, I think the Rams, Cooper Kupp exits with an ankle. They have a absolutely eviscerated offensive line. It's not fair to say that they're cooked. I thought this was a team that was going to sneak in that 7th playoff spot, and they look like they have Everest to climb up. Almost done here on takeaways. The Pittsburgh Steelers are playing smash mouth football, and this is all Bears fans wanted Justin Fields to be. Just keep the offense moving. Don't turn the ball over. Use your feet when necessary. Fields, 13 of 20, 117, a tutty, no mistakes, and just 2 sacks. But this defense, I mean, Joey Porter Jr. on Sutton just holds him to 1 reception on 26 yards. All I got to say is the research is a research. 8 of the last 9 teams to start 2-0 with both wins on the road made the playoffs. 8 of the last 9 teams to start 2-0 with both dubs on the road. Pittsburgh has made the playoffs. Each of their last 6 2-0 starts. Not since 1999. Bill Cowher, baby. Don't know if that was McDonald, Cordell Stewart. I'm a Steeler fan. Unbelievable. Chiefs, Bengals. Look, we took the Bengals +6, +5.5. Preach it from the high heavens. You saw the splits, 5 rounds, heavyweight affair. Mahomes, Burrow. They love. Bengals live for this spot against the Chiefs. You want to call that a fair PI at the end? Sure. 26-25 Funkadelic score. We take that if we're taking points all day. Now, Burrow's been in this spot before. 0-2, and he's pulled them out. I'm not going to say of all the teams starting out 0-2, I'm insanely concerned about the Bengals. We're talking about no flag, 1-1. They just went to Arrowhead, beat the Chiefs. We're reassessing the Bengals. They lost by a point. They showed up. They're still getting their rhythm on offense. Joe Mixon being gone is a real hole here with Chase Edmonds and Zach Moss. Those are not 2 clear number 1 backs. They're going to have to find a way to get it right. But no T. Higgins is huge. Again, you also got turnover at tight end, couple of new pieces. But that team, Kansas City, they find a way to win, but they find a way to not cover. And Travis Kelce's got 39 receiving yards in 2024. That's the fewest in a 2-game span in his career. Sipping on melon something after a win, between wins at the U.S. Open. Is he focused? Is he podcast $100 million Fed? I'm not sure. All I know is Mahomes is going to outlast Kelce for years. So we may be looking, but with Pacheco out here at a kind of week-to-week And this is just a nice continuity of having Reed and Mahomes, and you got Nagy, and you got a quarterback room that's just going to sit there, and they're going to get the luxury now with starting out 2-0 to try things. Xavier Worthy, Rice, these are the dudes. Hollywood Brown is out. They're saying he might not now play the whole year. This is going to be really interesting to see how some of these offensive game plans for the Chiefs get going. They're going to have to, again, though, rely on their defense if they want to do something no one's done. I think the Chiefs, again, going all the way, as we know, to probably the AFC Championship game and most likely hosting it. But through 2 weeks, I don't think we're insanely scared of them, but it's almost mental at this point. Who is going into Arrowhead and beating them? There are already 2 wins on the board against Baltimore and against Cincy. They got the tiebreak against them both. That's scary. That's scary. And as we look at the AFC board, and I just want to take a pit stop here, the Chiefs are plus 250. And it's the Buffalo Bills at 5-1. I'm reading FanDuel odds right now. It's the Texans at plus 550. And then we're talking about the 4th and the 5th favorited teams on the futures board to win the AFC are 0-2. The Ravens are plus 750. The Bengals are plus 1100. 0-2, 0-2. Then it's the Jets at 13-1, the Dolphins at 19-1, and the Chargers at 23-1, down from 25-1 before the spanking against the Panthers. I still contest that the Chargers are the best value on the board right now. Nobody gets it because it's the Raiders and the Panthers. Well, when the Chargers go into Pittsburgh, and that game's going to go under 36, but if they go into Pittsburgh and start 3-0, then everyone's going to start talking. And I'm telling you right now, I think the LA Chargers are going into Pittsburgh and winning that game, especially if we're getting 3 points. Could be one of my bets. You look at the NFC from a futures perspective. This is really what it's going to be. It's going to be these 4 teams moving around, value all year or no value. Niners at plus 280, Eagles at plus 450, Lions at 6-1, Cowboys at 10-1. We got questions about Phillies D. We got questions about the Lions. I mean, do we not? We got questions about the Lions. Through that game against the Bucs, that's a game they win. It's a game they win. And we're talking about Stafford getting the coin toss and overtime correct, going down and scoring. And we're talking about the Lions losing their first 2 games at home. Just park them for a sec. Cowboys 10-1, Saints and Packers at 13-1 and 14-1, with the Bucs at 16-1 right there, and chomping at everyone's heels, the Minnesota Vikings 17-1. 17-1 from the rafters. But as we round out week 2, my biggest live betting takeaways is I guess we got to tread lightly. I mean, I got eviscerated in the morning slate. It almost felt like I was clicking buttons. I'm watching the games. I'm like, all right, Cowboys, first half, couple of fluke defensive plays. No, that game was over at half, smacked. Ravens were 6-1 underdogs in that last drive, thinking maybe they were going to get a stop. No, they didn't. And that swung all the way from the Raiders being over 10-1 and 11.5 on the spread. Insane line movement. Bucks were getting 7.5, and you could have nibbled on the Lions almost all fourth quarter around even money. Couple of times they dipped, couple of big first downs. They get across the 50. You watch the line like that go from pick 'em to juiced on a pick 'em, but -1. I saw -170, -210 pop up quite a bit there once the Lions were getting, but they could not break. And Chiefs Bengals, Vegas will do this, and it's sick, but the Chiefs were -1.5 live and unable to click the money line a lot of the time. And that's just traps it. If you took the Chiefs -1.5 You're sick. You're sick. They win by 1. But this is where really doing your due diligence, find some professionals. I mentioned my guy Philly. Just listen to this. And we're out of here on this. The Lions were laying 7.5. Okay, they received 63% of the cash. I'm reading this tweet from my guy. 139 penalty yards. Then you go to the Ravens, laying, depending when you got the CLV, it could have been 8.5, or you got them at 9. 70% of the money on the Ravens, 119 penalty yards. Cannot unsee the Devontae Adams penalty. Broncos getting 65% of the cash at +3, 124 penalty yards. And we round out Sunday Night Football. Texans -6.5. We didn't talk that game much. 115 penalty yards, 66% of the cash. I'm not going to say anything more than just reading that information. We're talking about 63, 65, 66, and 70% of all the money on 4 teams that did not cover or outright lost. Well over 100 penalty yards for all 4 of them. Look, the game's a game. We dance between the lines. There is so much money on these games. There is so much to take in. Just try to follow some professionals, because if you do this on your own, you're waking up like me on a Monday morning, clicking way more buttons than you should have. And we have questions about Caleb Williams through 2 weeks, do we not? I mean, we have to have some questions. Caleb Williams did not look good again. Did not look comfortable again. I think they need to go out and get a real through the trenches running back. I don't think DeAndre Swift is that guy. I think DeAndre Swift needs to be more of a change of pace back that comes in and becomes maybe more of a pass catching role. Him running between the hash marks was absolutely hard to watch. I'd rather work on my hamstrings than watch DeAndre Swift run through the trenches with that offensive line. I mean, the Texans were all over him. And if you do not establish a run with a rookie quarterback, I mean, my gosh, their defense kept them in the game. They cover on by the hook, but not great. And I got to give some flowers to LaFleur. Just a coaching mismatch. Gus Bradley, does he have a job this morning? I don't know. But the absolute masterclass of a play calling effort by the Green Bay Packers to keep their season alive, nothing short of impressive. Coaches that know their personnel, LaFleur's a guy like that. O'Connell's got to be considered a guy like that. I mean, forget about just a golf clap. I mean, these are standing ovation performances. Sam Darnold loses a Justin Jefferson main target. Addison's not playing. Hawkinson's and Anthony Davis street close, and they dictate that Niners game from sun up to sundown. I mean, that's a standing ovation. That's a Vikings game you watch them lose many a times. And the New England Patriots cover again, 2-0 against the spread. And you might have gotten Seattle at -3 at the last Saved by the Bell, but then you pushed, baby. You didn't win anything. And the New England Patriots should have won that game, quite frankly. And are they getting 6.5 at MetLife, which is going to be fascinating if Ramondre and Antonio Gibson are running the rock with all of that dog. There is so much to unpack. I could sit here for another 20 minutes. The biggest takeaways are, I don't think anyone is absolutely great through 2 weeks. We don't know if the Saints are for real. Are the Saints for real? Dennis Allen was 5-16-2 against the spread after a win since 2022 on. I'm actually sitting here asking, are the Saints for real? Are we sitting here going, all right, Are the Chargers someone to take serious? Are the Steelers someone to take serious? And then you look at some of these clubs, and there's going to be value here in the next couple of weeks against the spread for these teams. 0-2, desperation. You start 0-3, you look at those numbers historically, not many teams climb out of 0-3. Ravens, Bengals, 0-2, 0-2, must-win spots next week. We got to get these right. And we're going to get a separate pod going for Monday Night Football. Appreciate everyone watching on the live. We are dancing, and we are down, but we're not out. Sports Gambling with Moneyline Monaco. What a long Schwitzfest that was. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review.